So we see Albert's life in Munich was miserable. He wanted to leave that place. We have seen the scenario. It was rote learning which was more emphasized rather than understanding of the ideas. It was more emphasis on learning the fact, and more days passed. Albert became more and more miserable, and then he requested his friend Yuri to arrange for some doctor who would certify that he had nervous breakdown. Yuri fixed an appointment and also warned him that he should be frank and honest while discussing the things with the doctor. And so Albert went to meet the doctor. I really don't know how to describe my trouble, Dr. Wheel, he began. Don't try, said the young doctor with a friendly smile. Yuri has already given me the history of the case. Oh, what did he say? Only that you want me to think that you have a nervous breakdown and say that you mustn't go back to that school. Sorry. Oh dear, Albert's face failed. Albert's face failed. He was disappointed because he felt that now the doctor would say that he is not going to certify it. He shouldn't have told you that. Why not? Isn't it true then? Yes, that's the trouble. Now you will say there's nothing wrong with me and you will tell me to go back to school. Don't be too sure for that, said the doctor. As a matter of fact, I'm pretty sure you are in a nervous state about that school. But I haven't told you anything about it, said Albert wide-eyed, surprised that how could Doctor guess that particular thing. How can you know that? Because you wouldn't have come to see me about this if you hadn't been pretty close to nervous breakdown. That's why. Now, said the doctor briskly, if I certify that you have had a nervous breakdown and must stay away from school for a while, what will you do? I'll go to Italy, said Albert, to Milan where my parents are. And what will you do there? I'll try to get into an Italian college or institute. But then doctor was apprehensive. He said that, how can you without a diploma? I'll ask my mathematics teacher to give me something about my work, and perhaps that will be enough. I have learned all the maths they teach at school and bit more, he added when Dr. Wheel looked doubtful. Well, it's up to you, he said. I doubt if it will come off, but I can see you are not doing yourself or anyone else much good by staying here. How long would you like me to say you should stay away from school? Would 6 months be all right? This is very kind of you. It's nothing. I have only just stopped being a student myself, so I know how you feel. Here you are. Dr. Wheel handed him the certificate. And the best of luck. How much? How much is your fees? So doctor said, nothing. If you have anything to spare, invite Yuri to a meal. He is a good friend of mine, and yours too, I think. Albert had no money to spare, but he pretended he had and took Yuri out to supper. Isn't it wonderful? He said after showing Yuri the certificate. He was very excited, very happy. Yes, it's fine, Yuri agreed. 6 months is a good period. This way you won't actually be leaving the school, so if the worst comes to the worst, you will be able to come back and carry on for your diploma. So Yuri said that yes, it was very safe. Suppose nothing came out in the 6 months, then he can always come back. But Albert had different idea. I'll never go back to that place, Albert assured him. I'm going to take this certificate to the head teacher tomorrow, and that will be the end of it. Don't forget to get a reference in writing from your mathematics teacher first, Yuri reminded him. Mr. Coach willingly gave Albert the reference he wanted. If I say I can't teach you anymore and probably you will soon be able to teach me, will that be all right? Now look at the remark of the mathematics teacher, and I think that is the best remark that a teacher can give to a student, that he knows more than him. But Albert said that that will be too much. It's only the truth. But all right, I'll put it more seriously. It was still a glowing reference, and Mr. Cook made the point that Albert was ready immediately to enter a college or institute for the study of higher maths. I'm sorry you are leaving us, although you are wasting your time in my class, he said. It's almost the only class where I am not wasting my time, said Albert. But how did you know I am leaving, sir? So he was a little surprised at how his teacher knows that he is going to leave. So teacher says, you wouldn't have asked me for this reference otherwise. I thought you would wonder. I thought you would be surprised. There's nothing to wonder about, Einstein. I knew you were going to leave before you knew yourself. Now this statement made Einstein puzzled, confused, that what did the teacher mean? But very soon he found out why the teacher made that remark. Before he had a chance to ask for an interview with the head teacher, he was summoned to the head's room. Well, it saves me the trouble of having to wait an hour or two outside, he thought. He hardly bothered to wonder why he had been sent for, but vaguely supposed he was to be punished again for bad work and laziness. Well, he had finished with punishment. I'm not going to punish you, the head teacher said to Albert's surprise. Your work is terrible, and I'm not prepared to have you here any longer, Einstein. I want you to leave the school now. So now we come to know why mathematics teacher said that he knew before Albert, because the school administration had already decided that they were going to ask Albert to leave or he has to be expelled. And that's what the headmaster says now, head teacher says now. Leave school now, repeated Albert, dazed, surprised. That is what I said. You mean that I am to be expelled? You can take it that way if you wish, Einstein. The head teacher was not mincing words. He was not making, he was very straightforward. He was not mincing words, means he was not trying to say it in any different way. He was just saying it straightforward. The simplest thing will be for you to go of your own accord, and then the question won't arise. If you don't want to be expelled, leave the school on your own will. But, said Albert, what crime have I committed? Why am I being expelled? Your presence in the classroom makes it's impossible for the teacher to teach and for the other pupils to learn. You refuse to learn, you are in constant rebellion, and no serious work can be done while you are there. So Einstein's ideas were considered to be rebellious. He was considered to be revolutionary with his ideas because he always objected to learning of the fact, and that, according to the system, was not proper and was a hindrance for the learning of other pupils. Albert felt the medical certificate almost burning a hole in his pocket. Why it was burning a hole in his pocket? Because he felt that it was now useless. He had made all these plans and everything, got the medical certificate, taken all that trouble, but that was all in vain, all was useless because he was anyway being expelled. I was going to leave anyway, he said. Then we are in agreement at least, Einstein, the head said. For a moment, Albert was tempted to tell the man what he thought of him and of his school. Then he stopped himself. Without another word, holding his head high, he stalked out. Shut the door after you, shouted the head. Albert ignored him. He walked straight on, out of the school where he had spent 5 miserable years, without turning his head to give it a last look. He could not think of anyone he wanted to say goodbye to. Indeed, Yuri was almost the only person in Munich he felt like seeing before he left the town. He had come to hate almost as much as the school. Elsa was back in Berlin, and he had no other real friends. Goodbye and good luck, said Yuri when he left. You are going to a wonderful country, I think. I hope you will be happier there. So Yuri wished him all the luck. So here we see especially 3 areas we have to focus on. His conversation with his history teacher, where he talks about the uselessness of learning of facts, which can always be referred in the books. The idea to know about what was the real thing behind the whole situation rather than learning dates. Second, his conversation with his mathematics teacher as well as Elsa, which shows that he had interest in science and maths and he had learned almost everything. And then the final conversation with the headmaster, which makes it very clear that Einstein's presence was a nuisance for the whole school. So later on also, when in some of his famous speeches, Einstein has emphasized upon education. And I hope you may have heard that famous quote of Einstein that education is something which still remains with you when everything else learned at school is forgotten. So education is something not of learning facts, memorizing the things, or rote learning, but it is to understand the things which are very much necessary. So here we come to the end of the chapter.